The sky over southern Iran is too quiet. Sergeant Daniel Hayes feels it before he sees it. A pressure in the air, a silence that doesn't belong in a war zone. He stands beside a sand-colored transport truck, boots sinking slightly into the dry earth, scanning the pale horizon. It's February 28, 2026, and something is coming. Radio's dead again, Corporal Evans mutters, slapping the side of the field set. Sweat drips down his neck despite the early hour. No command, no update, nothing. Hayes doesn't answer. His eyes stay fixed on the sky. The desert stretches wide, flat, endless, deceptive. A place where death can travel miles before you ever hear it. Then, a distant rumble. Low, deep, growing. Every man in the convoy freezes. That thunder. Someone whispers. Hayes shakes his head slowly. No, he's heard thunder before. This is different. The sound builds, rolling across the sky like a wave. Then the first jet breaks through the clouds fast, sharp, cutting the air like a blade. Then another, and another. Formation, perfect, intentional. Aircraft. Evans shouts, but Hayes already knows. These aren't patrols. These are strike fighters. The sky erupts. A blinding flash tears across the horizon, followed by a shockwave that punches the ground. The convoy jolts violently. Sand blasts into the air like a storm. Down, Hayes yells. The second explosion hits closer. A fireball rises in the distance, black smoke spiraling upward. Somewhere beyond the ridge, something vital has just been erased. Hayes hits the ground hard, ears ringing. The taste of dust fills his mouth. For a moment, the world goes silent. Then the screaming starts. Radios crackle back to life, chaotic, overlapping voices. Multiple impacts repeat, multiple impacts. Bases hit. We are under. Static cuts the rest. Hayes pushes himself up, heart hammering. This isn't an isolated strike. This is coordinated, planned, war. Another jet screams overhead, so low he can feel the vibration in his chest. He looks up just in time to see missiles detach, small, deadly shapes falling toward the earth. Move, he shouts. The convoy erupts into motion. Engines roar, men scramble, but it's already too late for someone. The third explosion lands among the rear vehicles. Fire consumes metal. A truck flips, slamming into the dirt with a sickening crunch. Flames lick the sky as ammunition begins to cook off sharp. Violent pops echoing across the desert. Hayes runs toward the wreckage without thinking. Hayes, don't. Evans yells, but he keeps going. Inside the burning truck, someone is still alive. He can hear them. A faint pounding, a desperate, trapped sound. Hayes reaches the twisted door, heat blasting his face. His hands hesitate for just a second, because he knows, if he opens it now, he may not make it out. Behind him, another jet lines up for a second pass, and the sky begins to scream again. The heat is unbearable. Sergeant Daniel Hayes feels it clawing at his skin as he reaches the burning truck. The metal is warped, glowing in places, coughing black smoke into the sky. Inside, the pounding grows weaker. Hold on, he shouts, though he doesn't know if the man can hear him. Another explosion rips across the desert behind him. The ground trembles. The air screams with the roar of jets diving again. Hayes grabs the twisted handle. It doesn't move. He tries again, gritting his teeth. The metal bites into his palm, burning through his glove. Pain shoots up his arm. Inside, a voice now faint, broken. Help, please. That's all it takes. Hayes plants his boot against the frame and pulls with everything he has. The hinge shrieks, bending slowly. Smoke pours out, thick and choking. Then, the door gives. A wave of heat slams into him. Inside, Private Miller is pinned beneath the crushed dashboard. His face smeared with blood, eyes wide with panic. Sergeant, Miller gasps. I've got you, Hayes says, forcing calm into his voice. But he sees it immediately. The fuel line is leaking, and flames are already licking closer. They don't have time. Hayes reaches in, grabbing Miller's vest, trying to pull him free. The metal won't budge. Another jet screams overhead, lowered this time. Too low. Hayes freezes for a fraction of a second. Instinct. They're coming back, he mutters. Miller shakes his head weakly. Go. Just go. Hayes ignores him. He braces his foot and pulls harder, muscles straining. Something cracks, metal shifting just enough. Miller screams. Again. Hayes shouts. In the distance, a missile drops. Time slows. Hayes sees it clearly, falling straight toward the convoy. Move, Evans screams from somewhere behind him. Hayes makes his choice. With a final, violent pull, the dashboard shifts. Miller comes loose. Hayes drags him out, both of them collapsing into the dirt just as impact. The explosion slams into them like a wall. Fire and sand engulf everything. The shockwave lifts Hayes off the ground and throws him several feet. Silence, then ringing. Hayes opens his eyes slowly. The world is blurred, spinning. His ears scream with a high-pitched whine. He turns his head. Miller lies beside him, unconscious but breathing. Alive. Hayes exhales, relief cutting through the chaos. But it doesn't last. Because through the smoke, he sees something worse. The remaining trucks, what's left of the convoy, are scattered, burning, destroyed. And beyond them, armed vehicles. Fast, closing in. Not friendly. Hayes struggles to his feet, grabbing his rifle. Around him, a few survivors emerge from the wreckage, dazed, bleeding, but alive. Evans stumbles toward him. "We've got incoming," he shouts. Hayes nods, jaw tightening. Airstrike was just the beginning. This was never about destruction alone. It was about trapping them. And now, the ground war begins. The dust doesn't settle. It hangs in the air like a curtain, thick and choking, turning the battlefield into shadows and movement. Sergeant Daniel Hayes wipes grit from his eyes and forces himself to focus. Shapes emerge through the haze, fast-moving. Low. Contact front. Evans shouts, raising his rifle. The first burst of gunfire cracks through the desert, sharp, controlled. Bullets snap past Hayes, kicking up dirt at his feet. They're already in range. Spread out. Hayes orders. Use the wrecks for cover. The surviving soldiers scatter, diving behind burning trucks and shattered metal. Hayes drops behind an overturned axle, heart-pounding but steady. Training takes over. He peers through the smoke. Enemy vehicles' light armored pickups fan out in a wide arc, cutting off escape. Mounted guns swivel toward them. This isn't random. It's a kill box. Hayes exhales slowly, lining up his sights. The first target appears, gunner exposed, scanning. He squeezes the trigger. One shot. The gunner drops. Hit. Evans shouts from somewhere to his left. Return fire answers instantly. A heavy machine gun opens up, rounds tearing through metal like paper. Sparks explode from the wreckage above Hayes' head. He ducks lower, feeling fragments rain down. "We're pinned." Someone yells. Hayes risks another glance. More vehicles are arriving. Too many? And then he sees it. Figures dismounting. Infantry. They're closing in on foot now, rifles raised, moving with precision. Fall back to the ridge. Hayes shouts, "We hold there or we're dead." Evans crawls toward him, dragging a wounded soldier by the vest. "We won't all make it," he says, voice tight. Hayes doesn't respond, because he knows. A soldier to his right suddenly stands, firing wildly, panic overtaking discipline. "Get down," Hayes yells. Too late. A burst catches the man mid-motion. He drops instantly, motionless in the sand. The reality hits hard. This is no skirmish. This is annihilation. Hayes grabs Miller, who's just starting to regain consciousness, and hauls him up. "Can you walk?" he demands. Miller nods weakly. "Then move." They break from cover. Gunfire erupts around them. Bullets tear through the dust, invisible but deadly. Hayes runs low, half dragging Miller, every step expecting impact. Behind them, another explosion rips through what remains of the convoy. Ahead, the ridge, high ground, survival. Evans and two others reach it first, dropping behind rocks and returning fire. Hayes pushes harder, lungs burning. They're almost there. Almost. Miller stumbles, falls. Hayes turns, grabbing him, and freezes. Because through the smoke, just beyond the ridge, more enemy forces appear, blocking their escape. Evans sees it too. His voice cuts through the chaos, sharp and final. "Sergeant, we're surrounded." Hayes grips his rifle tighter, scanning the tightening circle of enemies. Air above, guns ahead. Now nowhere to run. For the first time since the sky exploded, he realizes the truth. The ridge offers no safety, only a better view of how trapped they are. Sergeant Daniel Hayes drops behind a jagged rock, pulling Miller down beside him. His chest rises and falls in controlled bursts, forcing panic back down where it belongs. Think, move, survive. Evans is already firing short. Discipline bursts toward the advancing infantry. They're tightening the circle. He shouts, "We're boxed in." Hayes scans the battlefield. Enemy vehicles hold the outer perimeter, engines idling like predators waiting to pounce. Infantry moves between them, closing the gaps, rifles steady, no wasted motion. Professional, coordinated. This wasn't a reaction to the airstrike. This was phase 2. Hayes leans out, fires twice. One enemy drops, another dives for cover. But for every one that falls, two more step forward. "We can't hold this," a soldier yells from further down the ridge. His voice cracks under pressure. Hayes doesn't look at him. Fear spreads fast, faster than bullets. "Ammo check." Hayes calls out, "Half mag." Evans replies, "2 mags." Another voice answers. Hayes checks his own. Not enough. Not even close. The gunfire intensifies. Enemy rounds slam into the rocks, sending sharp fragments flying. One piece slices across Hayes' cheek. He barely notices. His mind is elsewhere, searching. There, to the east, A narrow break between two advancing units. Small, risky, but real. Evans, Hayes shouts, see that gap 2 o'clock. Evans glances, nods once. Yeah, but it's closing. I know. Hayes looks at the others, what's left of them. 5 men, one barely conscious. All that remains of the convoy. A choice forms. Ugly, necessary. We push through, Hayes says. Silence follows. Even the gunfire feels distant for a moment. That's suicide, one soldier mutters. No, Hayes replies, voice steady. Staying here is. Another burst of enemy fire hammers the ridge. A soldier cries out, hit in the leg, dragged back by Evans. Time is gone. They want us pinned, Hayes continues. We move fast, we break their line before they close it. And if we don't? Evans asks quietly. Hayes meets his eyes. Then we don't stop running. That's the only answer he has. A deep breath. On my mark, Hayes says, raising his rifle. He watches the gap, watching it shrink. 3 seconds. 2. Now. They rise as one, breaking from the ridge into open ground. Gunfire erupts instantly. The world becomes noise and motion, sand kicking up. Bullets tearing past, bodies pushing forward through pure instinct. Hayes runs at the front, firing as he moves. One enemy drops. Another turns. Too slow. Evans cuts him down. They're almost through. Almost. Then a mounted gun swings toward them. Hayes sees it. Too late to stop. Too late to turn. The barrel flashes, and the line of fire tears straight toward them. The machine gun opens up. A solid stream of fire rips across the desert, stitching the ground in front of them. Sand erupts in violent bursts, a deadly line sweeping closer with every fraction of a second. Down, Hayes shouts, but there is no cover, no time, only movement. He veers hard to the left, dragging Miller with him. The others scatter instinctively, breaking formation, just as the rounds tear through where they had been a heartbeat before. One soldier isn't fast enough. The impact hits him mid-stride. He collapses instantly, momentum carrying his body forward into the dirt. No one stops. They can't. Hayes pushes forward, lungs burning, legs screaming. The gap is right there, so close he can see the open desert beyond it. Freedom, or at least distance. Evans is ahead now, firing in controlled bursts at anything that moves. Keep going, he yells. The mounted gun shifts again, tracking them. Hayes feels it before he sees it, that invisible line of death swinging back toward him. He turns, raises his rifle, and fires at the gunner. One shot. Miss. Second shot. Hit. The gunner jerks backward, slipping from his position. The stream of fire stutters, then stops. For a second, everything opens. Go, Hayes roars. They surge forward, through the gap, through the thin line that almost became their grave. Gunfire still chases them, but it's scattered now, disorganized. The enemy line is broken just enough. They run, and they don't look back. Minutes stretch into something unreal. The sounds of battle fade behind them, replaced by the harsh rhythm of breath and boots against sand. The desert swallows everything quickly. Smoke, fire, men. Hayes finally slows, raising a hand. Stop. The group collapses behind a low ridge of rock, bodies dropping hard into the dirt. No one speaks for several seconds. They just breathe. Count the living. 4. Hayes, Evans, Miller, and one other, Private Lopez, bleeding from his arm but conscious. That's all. Hayes looks back toward the horizon. Smoke still rises in thick columns, marking where the convoy died. Anyone follow us? Evans asks. Hayes scans carefully. Nothing. No vehicles. No movement. But that doesn't mean safety. It means something worse. They don't need to, Hayes says quietly. Evans frowns. What do you mean? Hayes doesn't answer right away. His eyes drift across the empty desert, then settle on something in the distance. A structure. Low. Reinforced. Hidden against the terrain. Too deliberate to be abandoned. They knew we'd run, Hayes finally says. A cold realization settles over the group. Miller swallows hard. You think that's where they want us? Hayes grips his rifle tighter. Because the building isn't random. It's waiting. And out here, with no ammo, no backup, and nowhere else to go, it might be their only chance, or their final mistake. The desert feels different now. Too still. Sergeant Daniel Hayes studies the structure through narrowed eyes. It sits low against the terrain, half buried in sand and stone, as if it's been waiting there long before the war began, or built for it. No movement. Evans whispers beside him. That doesn't mean empty, Hayes replies. Nothing out here is ever empty. They move anyway. Slow, careful, weapons raised. Each step feels louder than it should. Boots pressing into sand, gear shifting, breath controlled but heavy. The silence presses in from all sides. Lopez winces with every step, clutching his arm. Miller leans on Hayes, still weak but moving. They're exposed, completely. If this is a trap, it's already sprung. As they close in, details emerge. Concrete walls, reinforced doors, no markings, no flags, just a single entrance, dark, open, waiting. Evan stops a few feet short. I don't like this, he says quietly. Hayes doesn't either, but he looks back once more. The smoke from the convoy is fading now, swallowed by distance. Whatever hit them out there is gone, or repositioning. Either way, staying outside is death. We go in, Hayes says. No one argues. The temperature drops the moment they step inside. Cool air replaces the desert heat, carrying a faint metallic smell. The light shifts dim, uneven, shadows stretching across narrow concrete walls. Hayes leads, rifle up, finger steady. The corridor is tight, forcing them into single file. Every corner feels like a threat. Every shadow could move. Clear left, Evans murmurs as they pass the first junction. Clear right, Hayes answers. But the deeper they go, the more wrong it feels. Too clean, too intact. This place hasn't been abandoned. It's been prepared. They reach a larger chamber. Empty at first glance, then Hayes sees it. Crates, stacked neatly along the walls. Weapons, a lot of them. Evans steps closer, eyes widening. This is a supply cache, he says. Enough to arm a full unit. Not just supply, Hayes mutters. He points to the far wall. Radios, maps, screens dark but connected. This isn't storage. This is a forward operating base. Hidden, strategic, and now, silent. Where's everyone? Lopez asks, voice tight, as if answering him. A sound echoes from deeper inside. Footsteps, not running, walking, calm, measured. Hayes raises his rifle, heart slowing into that familiar combat rhythm. Positions, he whispers. The group spreads out, taking cover behind crates and walls. Every breath is controlled now. The footsteps grow louder, closer. A shadow stretches across the far doorway. Then, a figure appears, alone, weapon lowered, not rushing, not afraid, watching them. Hayes tightens his grip on the trigger, because something about this is worse than an ambush. The man smiles, and says, in perfect English, "You made it further than expected." No one fires. Not yet. Sergeant Daniel Hayes keeps his rifle trained on the man in the doorway. Every instinct screams that something is wrong, but not in the way he expects. Not chaos, not panic, control. The man steps forward slowly, boots echoing against the concrete floor. He's unarmored, no helmet, no visible insignia, just desert-worn clothing and calm, unreadable eyes. To calm, "You're out of position," the man says evenly, glancing at each of them in turn. "And out of time." Evans shifts slightly behind a crate. "Say another word and you're done," he snaps. The man doesn't react, doesn't even look at him. His attention stays on Hayes. "That convoy," the man continues, "was never your objective. It was your path." Hayes feels the words hit harder than any bullet. "What are you talking about?" he demands. A faint smile returns. "You think that strike was meant to destroy you?" The man shakes his head. "No, it was meant to shape you, push you, funnel you here." Lopez curses under his breath. "That's insane." "Is it?" the man replies quietly. Hayes' mind races. The airstrike, the ground assault, the gap in the line, the structure, all of it. Too precise. "You're saying this was planned?" Hayes asks. "Every step," the man says. "Every decision you thought you made was already calculated." Silence fills the room. Heavy, unforgiving. Miller stirs weakly beside Hayes. "Why?" he whispers. The man finally looks at him. "Because war has changed," he says. "It's no longer about territory or destruction." He gestures around the bunker. "It's about control of movement, of information, of outcomes." Evans tightens his grip on his rifle. "Then why are we still alive?" For the first time, the man's expression shifts. Not fear, something colder. "Because you're more useful this way." The words land like a blow. Hayes feels it immediately. This isn't over. It's just beginning. A faint click echoes somewhere above them. Subtle, mechanical. Hayes' eyes flick upward. Cameras, hidden in the corners, watching, recording. This facility, Hayes says slowly. "It's not abandoned." "No," the man replies. Another sound follows. A low hum, then a distant metallic slam. Doors, closing. Evans turns sharply toward the corridor they entered from. "Sergeant," Hayes already knows. "They're sealed in." The man steps back slightly, giving them space but not freedom. "You survived phase 1, he says calmly. Hayes feels the weight of the moment settle in his chest. Every path behind them is gone. Every choice ahead, uncertain. What happens in phase 2? Hayes asks. The man's smile returns. But this time, there's no humanity in it. "You decide," he says. And suddenly, the lights flicker, then cut to black. Darkness swallows everything. For a split second, there is nothing, no shape, no distance, no control. Just breath, just the sound of it, and even too loud in the confined space. Then, a dim red glow flickers to life. Emergency lighting. Sergeant Daniel Hayes blinks, vision adjusting. The bunker has changed. Shadows stretch longer now, twisting the walls into something unfamiliar. Dangerous. Stay tight, he whispers. No one answers, but he hears them shifting, boots scraping. Weapons steady, fear contained. The man is gone. The doorway where he stood is empty. Hayes moves first, sweeping his rifle across the room. Crates, walls, corners. Clear, but not safe, because now the silence feels intentional. They're moving us, Evans says quietly. Or testing us, Hayes replies. A low mechanical hum builds again, louder this time, deeper. Somewhere beyond the chamber, something massive is shifting. Then, a sharp metallic clang echoes through the bunker, followed by another, and another. Lopez turns toward the corridor. That's not doors, he says. He's right. It's heavier than that. Deliberate. Hayes gestures forward. We move, slow. They advance into the corridor, weapons raised, red light guiding them into the depths. Every step forward feels like stepping into a trap they can't see. The air changes, colder, thicker. Then the corridor opens into a larger chamber, and everything stops, because they are not alone. Across the room behind reinforced barriers, figures sit in silence. Dozens of them. Men, uniforms torn, faces hollow, eyes tracking every movement Hayes makes. Prisoners. Evans lowers his weapon slightly. What the hell? One of the prisoners stands slowly, gripping the bars. His voice is rough, barely holding together. You shouldn't be here, he says. Hayes steps closer, scanning the room. Who are you? The man hesitates. Then, same as you, he answers. Or, what's left? Hayes feels a chill crawl up his spine. How long? He asks. The prisoner lets out a hollow breath. Long enough to know this isn't a prison. Hayes' grip tightens on his rifle. Then what is it? Before the man can answer, the lights shift again, brighter now, harsh white flooding the chamber. And above them, a voice, calm, controlled, everywhere. Phase 2 initiated. The prisoners don't react. They've heard it before. Hayes looks around, pulse rising. Listen carefully. The voice continues. Resources are limited. Exits are controlled. Cooperation is optional. A pause. Then, survival is not. The doors behind Hayes slam shut, sealing them inside, with the prisoners, with whatever this place really is. And for the first time since the sky over Iran exploded, Hayes understands the truth. This war isn't being fought on the battlefield anymore. It's being conducted here, in controlled darkness, where the enemy doesn't just want them dead. They want them to choose how they die.